Now on Eyewitness News.
It's just shocking that you could go to work and not come home from there and be killed in such a tragic, violent, senseless way.
Tonight, a final farewell from the families of those 8 victims in the Manchester shootings. Plus, a woman now arrested in the case as police investigate what Omar Thornton was up to in the weeks leading up to the workplace shooting. Police are telling Eyewitness News the woman arrested worked with Omar Thornton to steal beer and then resell it. Good evening on this Friday night. I'm Dennis House. Channel 3's Jill Konopka has more on the new revelations, plus a look at how friends and family are saying goodbye to their loved ones. Jill?
Good evening, Dennis. Calling hours were held for 3 of the shooting victims tonight, including Craig Pepin, Brian Sirigliano, as well as Doug Scruton. But meantime, all of that was unfolding hours earlier. Another part of this now criminal investigation was underway here in East Windsor Police Headquarters. And that is where an Enfield woman was brought in to face charges of larceny after police say she accepted stolen beer from alleged gunman Omar Thornton. Well, tonight, Christy Quayle was released on a surety bond, but she's now facing very serious charges. Late this afternoon, Christy Quayle of Enfield was arrested by East Windsor Police. The 33-year-old now faces 2 larceny charges after authorities say she was caught on camera taking stolen beer kegs and cases from Omar Thornton. The man who gunned down 8 of his co-workers, shot 2 others, then ended his own life at Hartford Distributors on Tuesday. Weeks earlier, the company had hired a private investigator to follow Thornton and confirm their claims. Thornton was shown that video evidence of theft moments before the shooting rampage. He was offered an ultimatum: resign or be fired.
To know the owners of the company, to talk them into letting him resign, you know, that's a pretty stand-up guy, you know, even though he was caught stealing.
For hundreds attending 3 of the victims' wakes tonight, including Brian Sirigliano, union president and shop steward, who was one of the first killed, and with Thornton at that disciplinary hearing, they don't understand why things ended the way they did.
Just a lot of heartache and wonder why this senseless act happened.
Neil Olette dates Sirigliano's daughter and cannot comprehend Thornton's claims of racism at work.
You know, he was fighting for the guy, so yeah, he didn't get fired or arrested or anything like that. So to be classified in that, this racism thing is wrong, you know. And he's a good man, and he's going to be missed. And everybody loves him dearly.
Friends and family arrived at St. Margaret Mary Parish in South Windsor for the wake of Craig Pepin tonight. Other mourners in Manchester at Doug Scruton's wake, and on the way there, several saw this sign as they grieved over these good friends.
He's going to be sadly missed, and I don't know where they ever came up with this racial stuff, because Doug was far from that. He was a friend to everybody.
Now, Christy Quayle will be making her first court appearance on August 17th in Enfield for those larceny charges. Meantime, back here at East Windsor Police Headquarters, they tell us that they do expect to make more arrests in this case. Reporting live with the mobile newsroom in East Windsor tonight, Jill Konopka, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
All right, thank you, Jill. Meanwhile, the family of Victor James sat down to talk about the man who they now look back at the 60-year-old Windsor man as a loving grandfather who could brighten anyone's day. Okay, the funeral mass will be held tomorrow. I'll get the script for you. Hold on one second. Saturday, 10 a.m. at St. Margaret Mary Church in South Windsor. The burial will be private. Let's talk about some of the other funerals. This one for Brian Sirigliano. Saturday, 10 a.m., St. Mary's Church in Newington. The burial at West Meadow Cemetery in Newington also. For Edwin Kennison, that'll be from, let's go to talk about Doug Scruton first. The funeral mass Saturday at 11 a.m., South United Methodist Church in Manchester. The burial will be private. William Ackerman Jr., funeral mass Monday at 11 a.m., St. Francis of Assisi Church. That is in South Windsor. Edwin Kennison now, calling hours Sunday 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. The John Tierney Funeral Home in Manchester. The funeral mass Monday at 10 a.m. at St. James Church in Manchester. Victor James, the calling hours will be tomorrow 10 a.m. to 1:30 at the Carmen Windsor Funeral Home in Windsor. Memorial service will follow immediately after. Meanwhile, the family of Victor James sat down to talk about the man who meant so much to them. They look back at the 60-year-old man as a loving grandfather who could brighten anyone's day.
no matter where they were in the house, second floor or downstairs, and they would just go running. It didn't matter if it was snowing, raining. You know, when Vic showed up, it was Christmas time, and you know, that's what we're going to miss the most.
And he loved his grandchildren.
He talked about his grandchildren wherever he went. He brought pictures in his lunchbox at work, so at each stop he could pull his pictures of his grandchildren out.
A community vigil will now be held on Sunday at Center Park in Manchester. That candlelight vigil will be at 7:30, rain or shine. Anyone who goes will have the opportunity to reflect and light candles in memory of the victims. Governor Rell is calling for a day of remembrance on Monday for the men killed in the workplace shooting. She's also asking people to observe a moment of silence at 9:15 on Monday morning. There's new information tonight about a fundraiser. The Hooker Brewery in Bloomfield, a company that works with Hartford distributors, helped raise some big money tonight. The brewery held an open house and raised more than $6,000. All the money will go to the families of the victims. Racial discrimination in the job has been a key issue presented by Omar Thornton and his family, and now Eyewitness News has learned that Thornton made similar complaints about past employers, even taking one to court. Channel 3's Eric Parker has the details.
Omar Thornton believed he was the victim of workplace race discrimination. He said so himself.
They treat me bad over here and treat all other black employees bad over here too.
But Eyewitness News has now learned that Thornton made similar claims about past employers. Jessica Braculio dated Thornton for 6 years about a decade ago.
At 2 different jobs, he felt like he was being mistreated, didn't get a pay raise when he had a good record, and he went to work and didn't have nothing, no complaints of him. He just felt like he could have gotten paid more or, thought of more in some ways, and he never did.
And it's not just anecdotes of past discrimination. Eyewitness News uncovered these documents filed in a Connecticut court that show Omar Thornton complained about another employer. Those court documents detail a small claims case Thornton filed against Corey's First Choice Home Delivery, a Florida-based furniture delivery company. Among his charges in the 2009 filing was, quote, unfair treatment in work environment. After a trial last October, Thornton lost, with the court entering a judgment for the delivery company. Eyewitness News reached out to Corey's today, but they didn't return our calls. From what you saw, do you feel like Omar Thornton dealt with a lot of racism?
Yes, he did. I dealt with it with him, so I know from the heart what we went through. We stopped going out in public because people would make bad comments all the time.
Today, the only thing we know for sure is that racism was a theme throughout Omar Thornton's life, a problem he never believed he could overcome. Eric Parker, Channel 3, Eyewitness News.
Stay with Channel 3 Eyewitness News for continuing coverage of the workplace shootings in Manchester, and for more information and details on those funeral arrangements, just log on to WFSB.com. There is more sad news to report tonight. 2 towns are in mourning after a head-on car crash in Harwinton killed 2 teenagers. Happened last night on South Road. 2 cars traveling in opposite directions crashed into each other, killing 18-year-old Charles Buonacore of Harwinton and his passenger, 17-year-old Melissa Andrews of Avon. Buonacore had just graduated from Lewis Mills High School.
He was a nice young man, very pleasant, and he comes from a great family. He has siblings who go to school here, and he'll be missed.
She had a perfect smile. Her smile could bright up the room. She's amazing, She just had like a glow to her.
Both Lewis Mills High School and Avon High School will have grief counselors on hand in the coming days and at the start of the school year at the end of the month. There's new information tonight on a former volunteer firefighter in Ansonia convicted of setting a blaze that he later helped put out. 20-year-old Brian Francione was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Prosecutors say Francione set fire to a home on Martin Terrace back in 2008 because he wanted his department to have something to do. The blaze destroyed the garage. Luckily, the homeowner did make it out safely. The suspect, accused of kidnapping and beating a convenience store clerk in Shelton, is pleading not guilty. Police say Justin Bonner told them that he was high on angel dust this past June when he walked into the Cumberland Farms and then dragged the clerk out to his car. She managed to escape and get some help. Bonner is due back in court next month. All new at 11, 2 men are under arrest after a wild scene in Southington. Police say 21-year-old Jonathan Russell of Waterbury and 18-year-old Michael Jaros were drinking outside the Daranoski School. When police confronted them, they say Russell tried to fight with police and told another friend to attack an officer. Both are facing several charges, including possession of narcotics and assault. Now to Campaign 10, primaries in the state are only a couple of days away, and if you haven't registered yet, well, the deadline is Monday. In order to vote, you have to be registered as either a Democrat or a Republican. Independents cannot vote. Voting applications must be given to your registrar of voters in your city or town by noon on Monday. This election seems to be generating interest. 38,000 residents have registered recently, and there's a website to find out if you are registered.
Inevitably, on primary day, I get calls from very unhappy, unaffiliated voters who may not have realized they weren't registered with a party because they tend to vote for candidates from one party or another, and then they're very disappointed when they can't vote on election day.
You can find out if you are registered or download a voter registration at www.sots.ct.gov. Families from around the state were reunited with loved ones today as soldiers from the Connecticut National Guard finally returned home today. 130 members of the Guard's 169th Aviation Regiment stepped off a plane today after a year in Iraq. The group has spent over 3,000 hours helping move military leadership around the Middle East. And of course, as you can imagine, everyone is thrilled that they're home.
It's pretty overwhelming, to be honest with you. I didn't know what to expect. It's my first deployment, so I mean, it's great to know that you have this kind of support while you're away. You don't really know until you see it in front of you.
There are still 700 Guard members from our state currently deployed overseas. Still to come new at 11, vacation controversy. The First Lady embarks on a whirlwind sightseeing tour of Europe on the taxpayer's dollar. We'll tell you how much it's costing, and the figure is eye-opening. Plus, more shark sightings in New England, and they're getting closer to Connecticut than this.
This is 911.
Yeah, a 911 call lands one man in jail. We'll tell you why the dispatcher actually refused to help him.
Our weekend is off to a very comfortable start. I'll let you know how long the heat and humidity will stay away, plus when our weather will get stormy once again.
All right, thank you, Bruce. It was a good night in downtown Hartford tonight. The Black Eyed Peas and all their fans hitting the XL Center. Fill my cup, Mazel Tov. Even though a judge in California has overturned the ban on gay marriage, couples are not allowed to tie the knot. Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger is asking the court to allow marriages to resume, but for now they'll have to wait. A judge has issued a stay on marriages until an appeals court hands down its decisions. As BP finishes killing off that broken wall in the Gulf, many residents are fearing their communities will soon be forgotten. Channel 3's Joel Brown has more now from the Gulf Coast.
We're buying this prepackaged shrimp.
The only seafood Jesse Morris is serving these days comes out of boxes. His Cajun restaurant in Venice is less than a mile from Gulf waters, but he doesn't trust the catch is safe.
We've seen it with our own eyes that the cleanup is not done, and it is where we would catch the fresh seafood.
Concerns like these are rising along the Gulf Coast. Residents worry that as BP gains the upper hand on its oil well, attention will fade from the cleanup.
We still have a major catastrophe on our hands, and we believe that because the oil has been stopped, that they're taking that as a complete victory, and it's not.
BP says things have improved dramatically, that there's virtually no oil left on the surface of the water to clean up. The company's scaling back operations, but insists it's still committed to restoring the Gulf.
Our cleanup activities are still substantial. We still have tens of thousands of people that work out there cleaning up the shoreline.
A mile deep under the water, the cement is hardening from this week's successful static kill. Engineers will then kill the well from the bottom through relief wells. But BP admits once the blown-out well is dead, the oil down in the reservoir could still be worth billions. The company's considering tapping it again in the future. For Jesse Morris, the main concern is the oil that's still in the water, wondering when the catch of the day will be safe to serve again. Joel Brown, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
Well, while First Lady Michelle Obama and her daughter are vacationing in Spain, some are starting to ask how much this trip is costing taxpayers. The answer, a lot. Mrs. Obama is vacationing in southern Spain at a 5-star resort with what her office says are a handful of longtime friends and minimal staff. Now, so far, about $250,000 in taxpayer money has been spent for a security detail and the plane to fly Mrs. Obama overseas. One news outlet has called her a modern-day Marie Antoinette.
Ouch. That seems a bit harsh. Sure, if I were the president's political advisors, this would not have been my top vacation destination, but let's not get carried too far away.
First Lady and her guests are paying their own personal expenses, including the hotel rooms. Well, it seems this summer has been full of great white shark sightings all across New England, and now it appears that these sharks are getting closer and closer to our state. And to give you a sense of just how close these shark sightings are to Connecticut, let me just pop up this map for you to see right here. Only 60 miles. The most recent was in Westport, Massachusetts, Horseneck Beach there, which isn't that far from our beach, is less than 60 miles. In fact, beaches have been closed in town while crews survey the water by air to make sure no sharks are out there. These man-eaters, by the way, are still trolling the shores of Chatham, Massachusetts, off the Cape.
Now, Channel 3 Early Warning Weather. Powered by Early Warning Pinpoint Doppler, tracking weather in your town and everywhere in Connecticut.
Well, tonight is one of those rare nights of the summer season where it's actually cool and dry outside. Very, very unusual. I'll show you how unusual in just a moment. But the good news is our weekend is off to a nice quiet start. There's no showers showing up on Early Warning Pinpoint Doppler. In fact, if you look up at the sky, it's totally clear, starlit, and just looking really nice and feeling great outside tonight. There's our live city cam in Hartford, crystal clear, and our live city cam in New Haven, also very clear, very good visibility with this clean, dry air in place. We already have some 50s in parts of Connecticut. Norfolk, of course, one of Connecticut's cooler spots, 57 degrees, but look at Waterbury, just popped down to 59. It's 60 in Meriden, 70 in Hartford, 71 in New Haven, but many outlying areas are in the 60s. And at Bradley International Airport in Windsor Locks, the current temperature is 62 degrees. Now, the dew point is kind of hard to believe. Yesterday, we saw dew points well into the 70s. Right now, in many parts of the state, the dew point temperature is in the 40s. You might want to take a picture of this because you don't see it too often during the early part of the month of August, when you see dew point temperatures in the 40s in many parts of the state. We have clear skies. Now off to our northwest, there is an upper level disturbance that's causing some clouds and showers. That'll come through later tonight and very early tomorrow morning with some cloud cover and just the slightest chance for a light rain shower or sprinkle in a couple of towns. But otherwise, Saturday is looking really nice. A lot of the thunderstorm activity is off in the deep south. For us, we got a huge swath of nice air, nice refreshing air coming in from the northwest, and it's going to be with us most of the weekend. But then much of next week, the heat and humidity will be coming back, and there will be just about a daily threat of some showers and thunderstorms. Meanwhile, Tropical Storm Colin is still located about 245 miles to the south-southwest of Bermuda, more specifically 29.1 north, 66.5 west. The storm is well offshore of the east coast of the United States, and this is the latest track as of 11 o'clock. The storm is going to be moving off to the north and then northeast, remaining well offshore of New England. No major impacts on us other than to create some higher than usual surf. Early warning futurecast is where we show you tomorrow's weather today. Clear skies with some partial cloudiness coming through later tonight and early tomorrow morning. Otherwise, tomorrow is shaping up to be a nice, mostly sunny day. There's a mostly sunny sky at lunchtime and through the afternoon and early evening. Mostly sunny skies as well, and it's going to feel terrific outside. Talk about terrific. Temperatures in the 50s statewide, except 60 right in New Haven and Bridgeport. Some of the cooler outlying areas may actually dip into the upper 40s by morning. And then tomorrow, low 80s, 82 in Enfield, 82 in Middletown, 80 in New Haven, 77 in New London. If you're going to the beach, a UV index of 9, air temperature 77, water temperature in the low and mid 70s, high tide at 7:28 tomorrow morning in New London. A light onshore breeze tomorrow afternoon, waves afoot and visibility excellent at 10 miles. Sunday, partly sunny, a slight chance for a shower, 87. Monday through Friday, 80s, maybe near 90, higher humidity, and just about a daily threat of a shower or thunderstorm in there. So much of next week is warm and humid. 80 for the shore tomorrow, 83 on Sunday. And Curtis will have an updated weekend forecast tomorrow morning. It all begins on Eyewitness News at 6. Dennis.
Thank you, Bruce. If at first you don't succeed, try again. Why one man's attempts to find a ride to a liquor store landed him behind bars. We'll be right back.
When lightning strikes, when temperatures rise, when storms roll in. Trust the team with more than 50 years experience tracking Connecticut weather. Trust the Early Warning Weather Team, only on Eyewitness News.
Man in Florida is in some hot water after calling 911 last week and asking for help. Listen carefully. This is what you call, well, to put it politely, not a smart move. That's because this 57-year-old man called the police looking for a ride to the liquor store. Not once, not twice, but 3 times he did it. The man's heavily slurred speech is difficult to understand, but he swears the sheriff offered to give him a ride.
This is 911.
Well, I need a ride.
You need a ride?
Yeah, to the liquor store.
Well, he did eventually get that ride, just not where he wanted to go. After the 3rd call, police arrested him, drove him to jail, and he posed for this mugshot. Coming up on The Late Show with David Letterman, Sandra Bullock. And up next, the Yankees and Red Sox kick off a pivotal 4-game series in the Bronx. Plus, the New England Regional Little League World Series gets underway in Bristol. John Holt has it all in sports.
Channel 3 Eyewitness News is everywhere.
That means we cover breaking news and track storms with early warning pinpoint Doppler.
In your neighborhood, where you live,
where we live. It means more stories
from more places in every newscast.
From the heart of the city to towns all around.
That's why we say Channel 3 Eyewitness News
is everywhere.
Everywhere. Everywhere.
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
Eyewitness News is everywhere. Now, Eyewitness Sports with John Holt.
A 4-game weekend wraparound series between the Red Sox and the Yankees began tonight. A sweep is what 3rd place Boston really needs, and probably nothing less than 3 of 4 to feel good going forward. It was a beautiful night in the Bronx for Game 1. Sox jumped out to a quick lead in the first. David Ortiz smashes the solo shot off of Javier Vasquez. Boston ahead. Now, New York came back in the bottom of the inning. Man on, Mark Teixeira sends it deep off Clay Buchholz. A 2-run blast is 24th of the year, 2-1 New York. This one went back and forth until Boston pulled away in the 6th. Rookie Ryan Kalish deep and gone into the bullpen. His first home run of his major league career. The Sox and Clay Buchholz pick up a big win, 6-3. Boston also gains a game on Tampa Bay, which lost tonight. Sox 4.5 back in the wild card of the race. The Mets taking on the Phillies this evening. New York led 2-1 in the 8th, but then it all got away. Ben Francisco singles to center off reliever Bobby Parnell. That tied the game up at 2. Then it's Carlos Ruiz going to center field again. That drove in another run, part of a 6-run 8th inning for Philly. Mets lose 7-5. They fall below 500 for the first time since May. On the local baseball scoreboard, the Rockcats lose at home to the Akron Arrows 2-1, and it was Hudson Valley jumping all over the Tigers 12-zip. Pool play at the New England Little League Regional in Bristol began tonight. Connecticut's entry, Fairfield American, trying to do what Shelton did 2 years ago, win the thing, and advance to the Little League World Series in Williamsport, PA. Fairfield open play versus Rhode Island State champ Cumberland tonight. Nick Nardone pitched well, 8 strikeouts as the game remains scoreless into the 5th inning. That's when Rhode Island got to Nardone, struck for the only runs of the game. A 2-run single from Dante Baldelli brings in a pair of teammates. Cumberland ahead 2-0, and that was plenty for Rhode Island starter Tyler Calabro, who struck out 9. Defense like this, too, in the 6th. And final inning from teammate Josh Broder helped in a big way. Major league play. Cumberland wins 2-zip. Pool play continues for Connecticut tomorrow night versus Shelburne, Vermont. At the double elimination American Legion Northeast Regional Baseball Tournament at Palmer Field, the host team Middletown was eliminated 10-3 in a loss to East Longmeadow, Mass. While Connecticut state champ Branford remained undefeated with a 6-4 win over Auburn. They will play again tomorrow night. The first preseason coaches poll is out tonight in college football, and the first poll of the season has the Huskies UConn at 33. UConn, who finished its season last year with a win over South Carolina in the PapaJohns.com Bowl, is also picked number 4 in the Big East preseason media poll, which came out back on Tuesday of this week. Giants wide receiver Steve Smith suffered a groin injury during the afternoon practice at training camp today. Smith says he was injured making a routine move after being examined. Smith watched the rest of practice. Smart move. He caught a team-high 107 passes last season, and he doesn't think the injury is serious. That is good news. And that will do it for sports. for now. Dennis, back to you.
Great. Thank you, John. What are we looking at tomorrow?
Well, tomorrow we're looking at some fine weather, a mostly sunny day, and temperatures up in the low 80s. Sunday, a little more humid, a slight chance for a shower, 87. Monday, a chance for an afternoon thunderstorm, 90. And Tuesday, of course, the big day.
Yeah.
Primary day, 90 degrees, with just a chance for a shower or thunderstorm. And much of next week is actually looking warm and very humid, Dennis. The highs in the 80s to right around 90 all week long.
I think vacations threaten voter turnout more than the weather. You never know who's going to be around. All right, thank you, Bruce, and thanks for watching Channel 3 Eyewitness News 11. I'll see you Sunday morning at 11. We have a big primary preview, and candidate for Lieutenant Governor Lisa Wilson-Foley is also our guest. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Channel 3 Eyewitness News is always on. For breaking news, early warning weather, and webcasts anytime, go to WFSB.com. Channel 3 Eyewitness News is everywhere.